All right, man. Take two. Take two. Let's see. Let's see if we're
Uh,
able to get this going today. But go ahead, man. Introduce yourself, a little bit of your background in plumbing.
all right. Well, first and foremost, I just want to express gratitude to Byron and opening up his platform to others. I firmly believe in the power of storytelling, and I'm on here to share my story with you guys, and I think we all can learn from each other. To start off, my name is Aldair. I'm from the Los Angeles area in California. I'm a licensed contractor. I got my license last year. I've been doing plumbing since I was around 18 for full time. 16, 15 years old, I was already going to the job site, helping my dad put those safety plates. I think that was my first task. Put safety plates on every line, and yeah. But I'm also aside from being a plumber, I'm also a college graduate. I got my bachelor's degree from UC Santa Barbara in sociology. So that has allowed me to go multiple routes, not just focus on the plumbing business aspect and growing that, but also I get to work with youth in my community. And I've actually gotten to travel quite a bit last year to work with youth in different counties of Southern California. And I actually went to Hawaii 3 times last year to work
Hmm,
with youth
saw
there,
that.
doing youth empowerment. So I've also been navigating this kind of this realm of public speaking while trying to grow my business,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much who I am and what I do. Yeah, yeah.
Right on, man. Well, that's really an amazing story to hear, and congrats on getting your degree. It's not easy. Me too. I'm as well in my last semester at the U of H on marketing degree. And let me tell you, man, working in school and all this stuff and all the extra stuff that I'm doing, man, I got like barely any time. But I like doing it. I like talking and communicating, connecting with people because you meet people from different backgrounds. In plumbing, there's kind of a misconception sometimes where the older people don't want to help out the younger people, kind of deal. But I haven't, as far as I know, everyone that I've talked to on my platform or through my platform have always been very helpful and informative, and they're always willing to help out. So I'm very blessed that I'm able to find those types of people because it really pushes me to get to the next level. Um, and so you mentioned all those achievements that you got going on so far, and yeah, man, I saw the Hawaii stuff on your TikTok. 'Cause I was looking and see, like, I was like, man, let's see who's coming into the podcast. And I saw the hiking and stuff like that, the nature stuff. I'm from Guatemala, bro, so
Mm.
I have a lot of love for nature and the beauty of it. And yeah, tell me what kind of got you into the public speaking part of it, or like kind of empowering the youth. Was it something you feel like in your life, or what was kind of the start of that?
Yeah, so I never, funny story. When I was in high school, I was never college bound or college going. Um, I wanted to be two things when I was in high school. It was either a professional soccer player because I was really into sports.
Hmm.
I wasn't the best, and neither did I have the commitment or I would say the commitment to training 5 6 days a week necessary to become top athlete. And my plan B was to become a plumber. My dad was a plumber. I saw him doing okay financially. It was we weren't financially rich or anything, but we were. I didn't. I never considered myself poor. We were. I considered ourselves working class.
Hmm.
So I knew I wanted to do one of those things. But I've always had an interest for travel. They would take in high school. I don't know if you ever got to experience this, but once we were in like in 11th grade, 12th grade, they would give us some like online surveys to try to point us in the right direction of what
Yeah.
career path we can take and what are our qualities and what are our interests. And so I was never college bound. I was like, nah, college is not for me. I'm gonna graduate and do plumbing. Um, so I did that full time 1 year after high school. But then I got back into school. I was like, okay, well, I know I want to grow my business. I know I want to expand on this, and so maybe community college can teach me some skills behind business and can help me apply them to my
Mm.
entrepreneur endeavors in plumbing. And so I enrolled in community college. It was cool, and I had a completely different experience than I did in high school. In high school, I think I was about a 2.6 average GPA. So um, you see C plus average, B minus average grades. But then I got into community college, and boom, my grades were the highest. I was like, almost perfect GPA some semesters, and
Wow.
so I was like, okay, maybe this school thing, maybe it is interesting if I get to choose my classes and if I get to choose my professors that I want to learn from. Maybe it is an institution I can navigate as well. So I did that. I was really inspired by an author's book that I read while I was in community college. I was introduced to it by a professor. His book was Street Life
Mm.
it was Street Life, Poverty PhD, no, Poverty Gangs and a PhD. So it was basically a memoir, and he detailed his life out on how he went from being poor, being in the streets, being involved in gangs, and now how he has a PhD and is a professor. And then this professor turned out to be a professor at UC Santa Barbara. So I was like super motivated. He had a film, and I was like, man, this dude is a professor, and he kind of got me thinking. I was like, man, I want to be a professor too. So I was like, all right. So I finished community college. I was like, it's time to transfer, and boom, I had a high GPA. So now I had all these different options that I could attend to universities and complete my bachelor's degree. I transferred to UC Santa Barbara, which is about 2 hours away from the LA area. And then in my first semester, I was able to enroll in this professor's class, whom I
Oh,
had
the
read,
book.
yeah, whom I had
Oh.
read their book. Um, and so I enrolled in their class, and then it was during the pandemic, so it was on Zoom, and I couldn't be physically present to meet the professor. But I would always turn on my camera and try to be one of those people just to show my face on the screen, just so people can remember you. Um, and boom, during the semester, I was also going through a lot of personal hardship, I would say, at home because I had to stay at home. So a
Mhm.
lot of drama. And I share that with my story, kind of my experiences of living in a community um, where gangs and drugs and different adversities one encounters. I share that with the students, and so I was going through some of that, and then it was like also the pandemic. My first semester at a university, it was a lot of challenges. So I reached out to this professor, and I shared my story with them during office hours. And he was like, "Okay, cool. I have an opportunity for you to start getting involved with youth here as soon as we come back to the
Wow.
university. So start getting involved with local high schools and working like a mentorship program."
Hmm.
So that's where it all started. I was like, okay, cool. I'm down to get involved and start working with youth and in the mentoring and so as soon as I got back, this was fall of 2020. So maybe by like spring, we were doing online mentoring,
Hmm.
and we were also, I think we were going to visit a few high schools on a very, like, because of COVID and everything was barely coming back. But we started to go out into the community and doing mentoring, and my job was to facilitate a program with the students. So kind of like positive, healthy habits, sharing my story, how you can share your story. So different themes on empowering youth. Because this is kind of like it was completely new to me. I was like, what is empowering youth? How am I supposed
Yeah.
to empower other people? But it was basically facilitating workshops, just being there and facilitating workshops on your career planning, life skills, whatever the subjects were, the theme was of that week. So fast forward, I stayed connecting with this professor, this author who who had inspired me, and he eventually became like a mentor to me.
Hmm.
I would randomly sometimes see him near the campus. There was times when he was going on a jog, and I was just laying on the beach because Santa Barbara is a school that's walking distance to the beach.
Wow.
Uh, I would say one of the best campuses in California. Um, but yeah, sometimes I would run into him into the beach and kind of, continue that building that relationship and with him. And eventually we graduated, and he was like, "Okay, you guys graduated. What do you guys? What's the next step?" And so we were kind of like undecisive of what the next step was. And so I was like, "Yeah, I want to work in education. I'm probably gonna be a teacher, get my teacher credentials, and do that." And he was like, "Okay, cool. You want to keep working with the youth, helping out the community." He's like, "I have an opportunity for you guys," and he invited us to a first conference where we helped him out, and that's what he does. He does public speaking. So it was a conference of school leaders and administrators in California, about 4,000 maybe in the LA area. Um, and we assisted him in the conference and doing a lot of that kind of like bringing his book along and having a table to promote his book and everything. And that's where it all started. He was like, "Okay, I want you guys to be part of the team," and he has this organization that kind of has created a buffet of speakers, of professionals in Southern California, primarily based, but they're throughout all California. And I think there's a guy from Texas. There's a guy from
Hmm.
Texas in the team. Um, and so basically, it's a network of speakers. Most of them are professionals, are in the school districts, are working as either principals, school board members.
Hmm.
So it's people in the professional world, and that's where it started. I started coming along and just sharing my story for 10 minutes on going to college, but also becoming a plumber. So kind of sharing my path of doing both things at once, and it's not either going to college or the trades. You know how a lot of
Hmm.
people are either
Yeah.
either either this, or you either
One or the other.
you either go that way. Yeah. So and for me, that's what caught my attention of you too. We kind of have like a similar story. We're both
Yeah.
gonna have why we both have a college degree. We're both trying to do something with the plumbing business. We've kind of inherited in a way because I see that your dad also does plumbing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so pretty much that's it. And last year I got my first opportunity to facilitate a program in the spring for students in Hawaii. And a lot of the students really connect, and I got to go again in June, and then I got to go in December. I was just there in December, about a couple weeks ago.
Wow, that's great, man. And I'll tell you, me growing up, I was a football player here in Texas. Here in Texas, we got a lot of football players, and there's not a lot of soccer here these
Mm.
days. And like in kindergarten, I played soccer, but
Yeah.
mainly football was my thing, and I really pushed myself in football, and I actually ended up fracturing my back my sophomore year of high school, and that kind of ended everything. But luckily, I had good grades that got me into school. And the reason why I got into college was because, or why I went to college was because I saw my siblings and I saw them that they, had immigrant parents and maybe they didn't feel like they had as much opportunity as other kids. But one thing that I wanted to tell them was if you work hard, it doesn't matter where you start from, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter all these different things. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to find a better path for your future, the better path will show itself. We live in a world that is unfair, but it does favor those that are willing to work hard, that are willing to not make excuses through their environment. Because you mentioned kind of the environment that was around you, but it takes a different mindset, to get out of there. It takes a different mindset to say, this isn't for me. I'm made for something better and greater. And I always actually thought about being a public speaker as well, just because of my story so far. And I always try to improve my speaking and the way that I speak and present myself, because my thinking is if I can just touch one life, and change them for the better, that's enough for me. I don't look to speak to a whole bunch of mass and try to change 1,000 lives. Let's start with one and see what happens. So anytime I can give good word, and every time I can, I try to do the best that I can for my community as well. And that's why I offer free plumbing services, not because, it makes me feel good about myself, but because there's honestly people that need it. There's people that need someone to just come and give them that lending hand. And I feel like you're doing that with your community. And another point that I want to talk about was how big of a blessing it is to find professors who care. People get this misconception that college is a scam per se, and I see their point, but because a lot of the stuff that you learn in college, you can learn through reading books or through research and all that. You just kind of get it at a more accelerated pace. But it's really the connections that you make in college. It's really the people that you meet that kind of changes you and just shift in environment. Because a high school is a lot different than college. And so shifting that environment really changes your perspective on things. And if there's professors, talk to them, and you're gonna see that if you network with people, opportunities are gonna open up. And yeah, dude, I saw the Hawaii stuff. I didn't know it was for that. So congrats on that. It's very beautiful, beautiful place, man. I hope one day I have the opportunity to go and to different places around the world. What's the kind of the next step for you? Is it kind of plumbing, or do you want to segue more deeper into kind of that public speaking?
Yeah, yeah. So I think you made a great point right there, with the uh, changing your mindset. I want to kind of step back a little bit on that. Um, yeah, I think that's very important. We all encounter our own adversity. We all encounter our own challenges. And that's something we kind of speak about. Either you can have a victim mindset, like this has happened to me, and therefore, have all these excuses, or you can either incorporate a thriver mindset. Use your adversity as a tool to help you overcome other challenges in life. If you already went through this, that demonstrates your resiliency that you have as an individual, as a character, as a family. And then number two, I think this is bigger than just for myself, because if I was very individualistic and just focused about myself, I could have gone on and done a different career and not have any importance in plumbing. But I did the plumbing aspect because I also wanted to help my dad grow his company. I also
Okay.
wanted to open up more opportunities for him, and then that eventually led into the working with the students, part of it. Number two, I think, that you talked about college. Yeah, a lot of people will say, I'm not going to college because it's a scam, or I'm not going to college because I'm not gonna look how many people have college degrees and don't have
The
a
job in
stable
that field.
career or a good job exactly. And it's a valid point, man. We're in a different, I think we're in a different economy than we were maybe 20 years ago.
Ten years
Um,
ago too.
there's more people that are college graduates, um, but I think it was it I don't regret it at all. I don't regret the
Yeah.
experience of going to college at all, because of the opportunities it opened up for you. I share with my students, a quote, that I kind of came up with, when I was in Hawaii. One of the team members, they run a community. It's called, Foo's Gone Educated, and they drop palabras of the day. If you want to check them out on Instagram.
Okay.
He was like, drop your palabra of the day. And I was like, okay, palabra of the day. Knock on every door. You never know which one will open.
Mm.
This comes from my experience of doing research in the community of Santa Barbara, where we were doing surveys, and we we would go and we would prejudge some houses, and we would be like, is this house gonna open their door, or is this house not gonna open their door? We would kind of make assumptions beforehand, but we would still knock on them because we had like a GPS, and it would tell us what houses we needed to knock on.
Hmm.
Um, so if we would prejudge a house, and if we would skip it, we wouldn't have never known if they would open the door.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes it was like the least likely ones we expected. Those were the ones that were open the door and were willing to take the survey. So then I say this in life, for students, knock on every door. You never know which one will give you your next opportunity.
Hmm.
And that's what college was for me. I don't think I went to college with the idea that I was going to come out of a 4 year university, with a job lined up, and work for a, a big firm or whatever it was. I kind of went in for the experience, and and for the networking opportunities. I knew I was gonna make not only meet professional professors and other people in the professional world, but I also just for my peers. I got exposed to a lot of homies that were from other parts of California,
Hmm.
but I also came from similar backgrounds and from parents who were immigrants and all of that. So I kind of got exposed to a different group of people that I would have gotten exposed to just had I stayed in my community.
Yeah.
So I think that networking opportunity and just taking the opportunity that they have. In the world, I think it's only 1% of humanity that gets access to higher education. So if I can get some financial aid to go to college, and it's within 2 hour driving distance of my hometown, so I can go and come back. Why not take the opportunity? I didn't want to be maybe 30 years old in the future and be like, man, I should have gone to college and I should have made friends, because
Yeah.
aside from the work that you got to put into college, I think college was a pretty good time for me
Yeah.
socially. I got to meet a lot of people. A lot of beautiful people go to college too, and a lot of people from your same background.
Yeah.
So, what's next for me in this next step? I'm still doing the public speaking a little bit.
Hmm.
I definitely want to grow in that aspect. But this is where I kind of have like an internal challenge with myself. Public speaking brings me out of my comfort zone a lot,
Mm.
I'm kind of resisting that kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, which is contradicting because in part of my speech, it's stepping out of my comfort zone is a
Yeah.
tool that I give to students to grow, and I've read that in different books, and I'm really into the self development type of books and all that stuff. So um, I definitely want to continue it because it pushes me, but also plumbing. I have my goals with that too. I just got my first van last year. I just got
Wow.
my first
Yeah.
van in
Congrats.
in thank you in November. So I've had maybe about 2 months with my van, and that's been incredible, man. Because I was driving around my little Jeep and carrying my tools in my Jeep was cool, but having your own van is like having your office on wheels. You get
Yeah. Oh,
to
yeah, for sure.
you get to
And
move around.
interestingly enough, I got my personal van on November as well.
Oh shit!
The
Congrats.
video on my setup, yeah, we got the Ford one. But that's interesting, dude. I feel like we got a lot of stuff going on in common, man. It's crazy how two worlds when they collide, different backgrounds, it's almost that's what I was telling my dad the other day that social media has I've seen a lot of benefit from it as far as building a community goes because I meet other plumbers that are willing to help you out, or you meet people that have the similar backgrounds to you, or maybe not even similar backgrounds, but you guys kind of met at a point to where it seems like everything that happened before had to align for that moment for you guys to meet up and
Ah,
stuff like that. And yeah, plumbing, man, as well for me has opened up the doors so much. That's the thing. I feel like this episode is gonna be more towards like what plumbing has done for us, and kind of
mm,
how we're tying it into our youth. Because here in Texas, and I spoke about this last episode, the average age for an apprentice. So to start, here in Texas, we have 4 licenses, and you start at the
mm,
apprentice. The average age is 37 years old, man. And
mm.
it's like a 10-year process to go from there to being able to own your own company, being a master plumber. So a lot of times when I speak to these plumbers and stuff and they're kind of older, they say, "Man, I regret not starting at your age. I regret this, I regret that." It's just first of all, it's a part of their journey, right? Maybe they weren't
Yeah.
made to be a plumber back then until now. Maybe something happened in their lives. I know some people who they had to go through some legal struggles first, before becoming a plumber and finding that that's right for them and kind of shaping their right life around. But second, a lot of people they're scared these days. There's a lot of fear I feel going on in the youth because they're like, "Oh, what if I spend all my time on this? What if I spend my time on that and it doesn't work out?" And these guys are like, late teens, early 20s, and I tell them I'm like, "Man, screw it, man. If you do it, do what you feel is right. If it's not right for you in the moment, at least you tried it and at least you don't have that regret of, "Oh, I should have done this. I should have gone to college. I should have tried it out." Because I mean, yeah, sure, maybe you lose some money, right? Maybe you lose some time, but that experience that you gain is going to be a lot more worth it. And if you do end up finding something that you're passionate about or something that you love doing early on in your life, that's a huge blessing, man. And with plumbing, how people are like, I don't know if I want to be a plumber yet. I don't know. Man, go work for a summer. Go start and get your foot in the door, or at least get your hours going, because that's gonna set you up a lot better, and you have a good idea now of what you want to do. And I feel like there's a lot of fear. I don't know if you've experienced that kind of with your students, of like they're right at the edge of kind of like that next step, but they're like, I don't know if I want to jump that just yet. And I don't know if you have any words to say about that, of encouragement to kind of get people to be like, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's uncertainty, man. Uncertainty is scary. You don't know where it's gonna take you, and it's like I said, stepping out of your comfort zone. But I think plumbing is just a life skill, man. If it doesn't
Yeah.
work out, if it's not something that you like to do, it's always gonna be a necessity in life. It's not something like I was watching your other episode, and the guy was talking about like the t-shirt business, and that's cool. A lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young foos like to want to have those ideas. I want to start a clothing brand, and I want to do this and that. Um, but I look at plumbing as like, it's a necessity. It's a service that the world needs, and 100 years ago, if plumbing is not what plumbing is now, and if we wouldn't have all these new advances in technology in regards to plumbing, we'd still be seeing feces in the streets.
Oh yeah.
We wouldn't all these big urban city centers wouldn't be as safe because plumbing provides safety transport of different substances.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty much, yeah, I think oh, you said about the average age of a plumber. I wanted to tap into that.
Hmm.
So since I like to travel, and I travel a lot, I usually sometimes start a little story. I stay at a hostels. You know what hostels are?
Not quite, man.
So hostels are kind of like a shared dormitory where you either have like four bunk beds or six bunk beds, and it's just like travelers staying on a budget basically. And
Hmm.
for me, it felt like college. I was like, oh, I'm meeting all these
Yeah.
people, and it's like they're from all over the world, but they're sometimes they're older, sometimes they're in your age group. But a few of the times that I stayed there, I think twice. It was twice that I've met. One guy was a contractor in Montana. He's grew up in Arizona. Was an electrician in Arizona, but he moved to a small town in Montana. And he told me, he was like, we were just talking, about what we do and everything. He was like, oh man, he's like, you're a plumber. He was like, that's great. He was like, statistically speaking, he gave me statistics. He said, for every five, for every 5 person people that are retiring in the trades, there's only one person going in.
Right on.
And so it got me thinking. I was like, okay, for these young people that are going into the business and have like a business mindset, not just being an employee for somebody else, but kind of, because you gotta turn that on. That's like another route. You could either
Yeah.
be an employee or work for a union, which is always a great career path. But you can also go the other route where you can eventually buy out your own time, become the business owner, and have a few employees, making you some money eventually.
Right.
So it got me thinking. I was like, okay, if these people are retiring and there's only a few of us left, um, or there's only like a fewer amount of people going into the trades. I was
Hmm.
like, this is a golden opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to motivate young kids, but a lot of the kids that I worked with seem to have more interest in going into construction and going into the trades, because it gives them, I think it gives them a faster turnaround than
Yeah.
going to college, because college is like, all right, I gotta go to school for 4 more years after I already did 12. And then it's like, and then we kind of have like and so you tell yourself no before you're even rejected or accepted to a college.
Yep.
You're like, nah, this ain't for me. So I would just say, try it, give it a try, man. And it's not like we just touched on it earlier. It's not either this or that. Why not try
Mhm.
both and merge both worlds? Because that's one of my goals now, is to eventually grow enough as a plumbing business here in California, where I can give opportunities to other at promise youth for them to get involved
Mhm.
in the trades, but at the same time mentor them to go to community college and maybe obtain an associate's degree.
Well, yeah, that's great. And with plumbing, it's a you still learn a ton of lessons, man. That's one thing about me. I learned life lessons through plumbing, and it may sound cringy to some people, like, man, this guy's making it more deeper than what it is. It's really not, man. One of the lessons that I've learned is that there's always a solution to a problem, but it is up to you to find it, right? Sometimes we get into these job sites, and I'm sure you've been there before, where no one knows kind of what's going on. I think I have a leak. I don't know. My water bill is this high, and you have to go step by step and try to find the solution, and it might not be there within the first hour, it may not be there within the first 5 hours. You may have to come back and do things differently. But if you're willing to put in the work and kind of see what life is giving you and what you can put in return to find a solution, you will find a solution. With my dad, 'cause I always asked him whenever we did our episode, I was like, is there any jobs that you don't, you felt like you couldn't do? And he was like, I don't know, man. Like, if there was a job that was tough, I stayed there until I found a solution.
Mm.
And that's a life lesson right there, man. Because if there's sometimes that we're in these problems and we don't know how to get through it, find a solution. If something's not working, don't keep doing it. Don't don't be that
Yeah.
don't be that one guy that's like, oh, my life isn't going too good. Well, what's changed? I don't know, nothing. Okay, well, that's why. That's why you're not happy. And then as far as plumbing goes, I definitely think that there's a lot of opportunity for the youth. I think that these young people, any trade really, trades are really going short. I was watching a video last night, and it was talking about how much electricians we need by 2030, how many plumbers, how many people, and it's a great opportunity with a lot of people that are willing to help, but a lot of struggles as well as you go. But like everything, but it's really rewarding. And some people, they're made to be business owners. Maybe some people, they're made to have their own company and do all these great things in the trade. And some people are meant to be employees, and that's perfectly fine because we need people like that. But understand that if you have that driving force, if you want to do your own company, if you want to have kind of that free time, you're able to do that, especially through a trade, man. And that's one thing that really attracted me because I worked in other places. I was one of the top workers. I worked at Canes, and man, I got promoted all the way pretty much right before a manager in 9 months. And
Mm.
there were people that they were there for years, but that's just because my dad always put this driving force in me, this work ethic that I
Yeah.
really and truly appreciate. But yeah, man, that's really what it was. So I told my dad, I was like, man, if I go work for another company, I could make a ton of money and all this thing, especially being a journeyman plumber here, man. I'm like, dude, I would be showering in money. But sometimes it's not all about that, man. It's about going through the struggles, especially. Do you work with your dad real quick, or are you doing your own
Yeah.
thing now?
So sometimes I'm working with him. Sometimes he sends me alone on the job sites.
Okay, but as far as like company goes, you guys are in the same.
Oh yeah,
Okay, yeah.
same
So
with.
the struggles of when you're kind of slower, when you kind of are kind of like, man, what am I gonna do tomorrow? I don't know. I gotta kind of just wait on a call. That's stressful, man. That's something that's stressful. And one lesson that I learned the other day as well, I'm gonna share this with you, was we had a customer. We were doing a restaurant commercial, and we were there, and we don't do much commercial. We do residential. My dad has some experience in commercial, and they had their grease line going, and it was clogged. And so me and my dad, we had to cut the pipe and we had to try to clean it up as best as possible. But we don't have a jet machine because those jet machines are really expensive, dude. The commercial ones, you got to have the compressor and all that. And we're not
Yeah.
doing all that right now. We don't do enough commercial for that. But tell the guy, I'm like, look, man, we did what we could. We were able to see the line. It's pretty clear. You just need a jet machine to kind of clear it out fully. I don't think a drain cleaning machine, a snake, will do the work. And he's
Hmm.
like, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Um, Send the invoice, and we'll get that taken care of. Send it over. And maybe like the same day, like maybe 3 hours after we left, they're like, hey, everything's still backing up. You guys came and did the work. And I was like, yeah, dude, you got to get it jetted out. I just, I told you that earlier. But he was like, man, giving me a lot of stuff for it, a lot of crap.
Hmm.
And he was like, I'm not going to pay and this and this and that. And I think he just, honestly didn't want to pay. But regardless of it, it was just the next morning, man. I just woke up to all these messages. I woke up at 6, and I was like, I think I want to sleep late that day too. I want to sleep like at 2, so it was like 4 hours of sleep. I'm over here like, man, what the heck happened? And I'm over here getting blown up on my phone, and it was a big hit for me, right? Because we do a lot of good quality work, and I'm really passionate about the customer service aspect of it and being able
Hmm.
to talk to people. So whenever we kind of have those critiques, um, it's not that I try to justify myself because I know everyone has their own opinions and they're entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah.
But I know that we do quality work, so it kind of bums me out when people aren't satisfied with the services that we do. Because I know that we do our very best to do our the best that we can. But that's life, you know. First of all, not everyone's gonna be appreciative of your efforts. Not everyone's gonna be all happy.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I was a little bit bummed out in the morning, and then we were slow that day too. We didn't have nothing. So I was like, man, that was supposed to be the job that was supposed to pay for the week, this and this and that. But then there was another customer that we had back in November, and they had a drain that was a drain issue. This is residential now, and we're a lot more comfortable doing that. And so uh, I was like, you know what? This guy still has problems. Let me talk to him and see what we can do, help him out. And then he was like, Byron, thank you for contacting me. We've actually been struggling with this drain for, ever since you guys left, because it had a belly, those
Mm.
bellies in the drain lines. And so I was like, yeah, man. Because back in a couple weeks ago, I gave him the proposal to fix everything. And then he was like, I don't know, it's a little bit expensive. It's a rental house. And then I was like, I understand, man. I was like, we did this for you right now. Let me know if anything I can help you with it. You want me to put a camera? I'll put a camera. And just kind of talking to him because, I mean, I didn't have much going on. And that same day, whenever I got kind of talked to really harshly by this company,
Yeah.
he goes, "Man, I appreciate you for contacting me. Let's go ahead and start doing the work. Let's get the proposal going. Send me the contract." And I did all that, and I told my dad, I was like, "Man, that goes to show that your day can change in an instant. Maybe it
Hmm.
started off bad, and maybe you wake up to bad news, but things can change in an instant, man, because it changed, and we do a job that much better than the commercial one, and people that are really willing to work with you and happy that you're there, and that's really what we've been doing this past weekend. And man, it was a really good lesson to me that things need to get done. Things need to happen. You can't sit down and be like, oh man, everything went bad this morning and ruin my whole day. I could have ruined my whole day, but
Yeah.
instead I was like, nah, stuff needs to get done. I need to go to work. I need to do this. I need to find a way to get us going. Because man, I don't know about you guys, but for us, ever since about 2 years ago, it's been kind of slow, a little bit slow. It's been kind of these
Mm.
waves going, and I'm not sure how the scene is like in California, but here in Houston is very competitive in plumbing, bro.
Mm.
Very competitive.
Mm. Yeah. That's life, man. The clock keeps ticking, and the world keeps turning, and we can't let someone put us down, and it's happened to me before as well. When people come at you sideways and they kind of like, damn, it hurts your ego, and I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's your ego. But we gotta squash that out and be like, you know what? We're not gonna be able to satisfy everyone, and that's just how things are. Some people just need to work on themselves, and don't appreciate the service that people are doing for them, and some people just got things going on themselves and their own problems that you kind of maybe like that little drop that spills the cup.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's happened to me before too. Where I've gotten kind of spoken in a way where it's kind of like degrading, and it's like,
Oh
damn, man.
yeah.
But I reflect on it a lot. I'm like, all right, can't let it get to me. It's my ego that's getting bruised. And that's been like a lot of self discovery in this world of self development that I've been, that those things happen. And like we said earlier, you said if you could change one person's world, your job is done, and I think you did that in the next customer you were able to help out. You helped
Right.
them solve their problem, um, and I see that in both, the plumbing, but also the speaking world. Sometimes in the speaking, I'm like, damn, man, I just spoke to all these students, or sometimes I get nervous. Like this week, I have a one of my bigger audiences. It's gonna be like around 350 students that I'm gonna
Whoa.
speak to. Yeah, so I'm like, damn, man, I gotta reach all of them, and I'm putting like all this stress on myself and on my shoulders. But I'm like, man, my goal is not to change the world, but if I can change one student's world, if I can
Right.
change one student's mindset, then I change their world, and I change someone's world. I don't have to reach everyone.
Yeah.
And so I see that in plumbing too. If I can help one customer solve their problem, then I did my job. And I think it's very powerful what you said earlier about about solving an issue. And it's like, if you keep trying the same solution, and if you keep trying the same solution and you're not getting results, you got to change something up. And that's when
Right.
you reflect on like, all right, what am I doing to try to solve this plumbing issue? But it's also, you can take that into life. And it's like, if something's not working out, then you reflect, all right, what am I doing? um,
Hmm.
how can I adjust? How can I change? So I think that's very powerful, what you said, and I like that, on how you pointed that out, and I'm gonna incorporate that. I'm gonna take that, and I'm like, damn, I'm incorporating that into my next talk, because
Yeah.
I had an experience, this past weekend. So I live here near where the fires happen. I don't know if you're aware of
Mhm.
the fires.
Oh yeah.
So it really impacted, the community north of where I live, the community of Altadena. Um, and a lot of people were left without gas and without electricity, for those whose homes, were or are standing or weren't affected by the fire directly. But this customer had, the gas company came out, and they turned on all the gas, and, they, shut off his gas meter. They're like, no, you can't have, gas. You got to call a plumber to come and pressurize your line because you have gas leaks.
Mm.
And so, it was a weekend call. It was a Saturday, and over here we don't really usually work weekends. It's kind of like maybe Saturdays, but Sundays are absolutely a no go.
Right.
Um, so he called me. My dad is out of town. Oh, he called my dad. My dad's out of town. He's like, "Hey, you want to go do this?" And a lot of times when it's like stuff like that, I'm like, "Man," and my dad's not around. I'm like, "Man, I don't know," because I don't want to
Oh,
stick
yeah.
myself in a problem and not know how to come out of it. And I think
Yeah.
it's just a lot of personal, kind of like that miedo, that just being
Yeah.
scared of
Yeah.
uncertainty. And that's what it
Uncertainty.
is.
Yeah. There you go, man. There you go.
And that's what it is. It's just scared of uncertainty, and you don't know what the results are gonna be. But, so I show up to this guy's house, and I'm like, all right, cool. We're gonna pressurize it. I pressurized it, and it started going down right
Dang.
away.
Hmm.
I was like, man, you got a gas leak somewhere. It's a big one too, because it's like going
Yeah.
down. And then so I went in, and it's a cross space. And then it's like, man, you sometimes you have cross spaces that are cool, but sometimes they're like these cross spaces that are like, you're like itching as you're going in, because you see all these spiders and you see all these bugs. And so I get in, and I'm like spraying the pipes, because, for us, we use the soapy water method to
Yeah.
find a gas leak. And so I'm spraying the pipes, and like five leaks right going into the house. And
Wow.
so I told the customer, and I'm like, all right, boom, boom, this. Um, and then so I gotta follow the lines, and then there's certain parts of the house that we can't even go under because it's like super tight. So like, okay, I'm just gonna start to isolate the lines. And so I start isolating lines, and it's a lot of learning for me as I'm
Hmm.
going. And, turns out this dude ended up having 12 gas leaks. So that day
Wow.
we found 11 gas leaks. And then, the next day I was like, I have to come back. I have to come
Hmm.
back because the line. So we pressurized it at the end, and I was like, I gotta come back because, um, it's still going down.
Hmm.
You call a gas company, and they're gonna tell
Yeah.
you,
They're not gonna let you
yeah.
bring it back.
So yeah, so I call my dad. I'm like, man, I did all of this work, and I still have to come back. And then he was like, hey, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's gonna be, you spend a whole day going at it, but the next day you come back, and in a couple of hours,
And it
boom, you
clicks.
find it. And I'm like, man, I was like, I swear, if this dude gets it right, like, he's on something else. But, lo and behold, man, I go the next day. I show up on a Sunday, and I was really, adamant of going on a Sunday. I was like, man, can we book it to Monday? And Monday
Yeah.
was, Martin Luther King, weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm willing to work Monday, but not, Sunday. I had some plans already.
Mm.
But the customer was like, "Ah, we're without hot water, and we don't have electricity, so the house is
True.
cold, and we don't have hot water." So I
Dang.
was like, "All right, it's a time of, a necessity, and these people have been really nice. They bought us lunch, and
Wow.
I'll take care of them on a Sunday." So I went, boom, lo and behold, and within 2 hours, we isolated the last line we had, and I canceled, an old gas line that ran for an old water heater that was no
Mm-hmm.
longer existent. Um, but I kept that consistency. I kept on trying to find the leak, and I didn't give up. If I would have gave up, and I'm like, man, Dad, I couldn't find it. you know, you gotta come.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have gone to my solution. And it's like that picture where you see the dude going with like digging for
Oh
diamonds,
yeah,
and it's like,
yeah. The wall's right there, and they
yeah,
just
the
keep
wall's
digging.
right there. The other fool's more hungry, you know. So
Yeah.
I think just kind of maintaining that work ethic, and I've been able to translate that work ethic from plumbing to academics, and to help me out, you know. It's
Hmm.
like, either do I want to keep digging trenches and digging ditches, or can I also hit the books, and write some essays, and do this, and study
Right
for
on.
exams, which at the end, you know, school helped me, you know, learn those study habits, that when
Hmm.
I took my contractor's exam, you know, you have to take two exams here in California, one for the
Okay.
trade and one for the business and law side of it. So it's two exams. They're like 2 hours each. Um, I felt pretty prepared because I bought some materials online, and I had my own study sessions at night. And I was like, oh, this is like studying for an exam at school. You know, you just
Wow.
review the themes, and it's like common sense questions, and some math, and all of that. So yeah, pretty much that's what I that's my experience in plumbing, and I think that's really big on taking life lessons from your world,
Work,
from
man.
the world in plumbing, and applying it into life.
Right
Um,
on.
and what your question was, how it is over here in California. I think it's really competitive, man. A lot of people undersell their work. A lot of
Mm,
people undersell their work, and I think that kind of affects other people. And then
yeah.
you have a lot of these big corporations, and that are that are just have marketing locked
Right.
down, and it's like they have all this
Hundreds of thousands
advertising.
of dollars, dude, in their
Yeah.
marketing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, us. We have zero marketing. We don't have any website. Not yet. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what I want to work on. Most of it is just relationships, and referrals from people. But for us, I think we've been blessed. My dad has been able to build relationships with a few contractors here who do a lot of new
Wow.
construction, and
Hmm.
that's what we primarily do, is new construction.
Hmm.
Um, and we've been busy for a minute. We've been busy for the past 5 years, I would say.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. I would probably ask a little bit about yourself. What are your goals, and what are your aspirations in your professional world? Because you're also going somewhere professionally,
Yeah.
but also in your business side of it, in your trades, just to get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. I don't think a lot of people ask about me, but yeah, man. So I started when I was 16 in plumbing, uh, and same to you, man. When I went to college and I started getting my examinations going, it was really easy for me because I already had that studying mentality. My dad tells, 'cause I asked my dad, we have endorsements here for your license, and I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, are you gonna get this endorsement or that? He's like, Nah, no, man, I can't study like that no more, man. It's been years. So I was like, I'll do that. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. So yeah, I took my journeyman license here last in December, passed that, and it's actually my birthday today. So
Oh,
now I'm a 22-year-old plumber, and it's been great, dude. It's been a great journey for me of talking to people. Well, like I said, we do residential, so it's really been a good experience for me. I've met people with various different backgrounds, extremely wealthy people that really care about other people. And I feel like you really what you put out in this world is what you get back.
mm,
These people, they whenever we go, they're the ones that give you lunch. They're the ones that are willing to pay the price. They understand as long as you're able to justify it and not, do them wrong, they'll keep blessing you back. And so I really learned a lot of lessons as far as taking care of others, and they'll take care of you in return. And as far as my degree goes, I really took the degree to learn more about business because like I said, a lot of plumbers, they know a lot of plumbing, but they don't know a lot about business.
mm.
And admittedly, my dad was one of those, but we were blessed. We were blessed enough to at least make it from 2006 until now with practically zero business knowledge. And now I tell my dad, I'm like, look, we got to change this because it's not really right. We can do things differently. And he understands, and I want to give thanks to my dad for all the lessons that he's put in me, putting me in this trade in the beginning, because I just saw the opportunity and I felt this connection to the trade from a young age that I just wanted to carry it over. And I've seen a lot of opportunity come from it. And as far as the future goes, uh, I would love to build up more, right? Have a couple guys, a couple vans, but really my main thing is to keep my moral values in check because I don't want to be the type of person that gets too big, that's ego change, and you know they say money doesn't change; it just brings out who you really are.
Mm.
You know, I've heard a lot of people say that, and um, I feel like personally, I have a lot of good values as far as in my heart goes. My mom, she put a lot of good work ethic and values in me as well growing up. She unfortunately passed away back in 2 years and a half uh, in
Sorry to hear.
Guatemala in yeah, a car accident. So that's also been a part of my journey and a part of my self struggles of kind of going through this life kind of with that darkness, you know, that adversity. But it's taught me a lot of lessons, man. I don't question God's plans for me. I don't question what He has in store for me, and I'm not upset about anything. If anything, you know, I'm grateful for the life that she had in my life and the lessons that she put in me, and that's really where a lot of my positive outlook goes in life because I could very easily be mad, very easily be angry, very easily have a victim mentality. But I say no, you know, I got my family here, I've got my dad that I got to help out, and it's really been a great journey. Like I said, 22 years now, I've completed a lot of like licensing wise and plumbing, and I just want to keep the ball rolling. And more importantly, I just want to start giving back to the community as well. I've thought about it. I floated the idea around of going to like little league teams and talking to young boys and girls about life and about my experiences, especially being in football, because I think that's where you should start. You know, the youth,
Mhm.
because there's some people that unfortunately they don't have a parent that maybe they don't. How do I say this without upsetting anyone? Maybe they just you don't know what you don't know, right? And sometimes parents it's their first time being parents, and sometimes they're really worried about working and they're trying to make sure that there's food on the table. But sometimes kids need some attention or someone to just say you can do it, you know, someone to say you can do these great things in the world. You don't have to slave yourself your entire life. You are made for much more than that. And so if I can talk to these kids about that and help out my community, I want to do that. So that's really where I go. You know, I'm kind of one of those people right now. I'm kind of like in an awkward stage, I would say, because in plumbing, I have to wait 4 years, dude, for me to get my master's. And
Mm.
so I'm kind of just like floating around, like, dude, what do I do for 4 years, man? But I know stuff needs to get done, right? I know that there's still experience to gain in those 4 years. But I'm like, dude, man, I wish. Just like I still live with my dad because I'm in college, and so once I graduate here in May, I plan on getting a house and just keep growing and learning. And yeah, dude, it's just I'm learning a lot about myself along the way. I'll say that, especially at the young age that I'm at, and about relationships and balance. Balance is a huge one, dude. We could talk I literally like an hour more about just balancing and having a good balance in life and work. So if there's any young, you know, gentlemen or ladies out there, find a good balance. Don't over put yourself into one thing and forget about your relationships because they're just as important. You know, your parents, don't take them for granted. I know that there's some parents that they might not be the best in your eyes, but understand that they're first time being parents too sometimes. You know, understand that they're going through life for the first time. They're going through these things. So, one thing that I really want to push to people is don't be a victim of your environment. Don't be a victim of what surrounds you. Instead, be the light around you, be the light to other people, and you're gonna see that you're gonna do great things. You know, whenever I'm really glad that you reached out to me to, or did I reach out to you? One of us reached out. Whoever reached out to who, I'm very glad that that happened. The reason is I see a lot of spark in you and a lot of these aspirations that you have, man. And I know that your parents will be very proud of having a son like you because I know my dad is very proud of me, even just the plumbing side of it, but even like as a person. So I know that it reflects well, and I'm really glad that we were able to connect, man. And you know, an hour's almost already up, dude. Just like that. So yeah, dude. That's a little bit the gist of it. You know, we can always go into more details. later in another episode. So if you guys want to watch another episode, let me know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely stay tuned for a part two, brother. Because thank you for those words at the end. I really appreciated um, just hearing that from someone else and kind of just getting that reaffirmation. Sometimes you
Yeah.
don't hear from the homies up in person, but if hearing it from another dude, from another fool. I like to say fool a lot. I use that
Cool.
term.
Yeah.
Another fool from Texas. Across the country, and it's
Yeah.
like we connected to through social media, and I think social media can either be a knife.
Hmm.
Social media can be a knife. It can either cut you, and it can either hurt you if you utilize it the wrong way. And
I
what is
see.
that wrong way? It's doom scrolling. It's kind of seeing what other people have and you don't have, and feeling ungrateful for what you do have. But then it can also be a tool. It can also be a tool to meet others, like me and you are meeting
Hmm.
right now. And you inspire me with your platform, bro. You're 22.
Thank you.
You just turned 22. Happy birthday
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you have a blessed day, a blessed week,
Appreciate it.
and a lot of blessings your way. But you're 22. I'm 26, so I'm feeling a little older in the game. I'm like, man, I got 4 more years ahead of this dude, and I don't even have my Drain Domain podcast. That's some fire thing, man. That's some
Yeah.
fire. So I really appreciate you, and I'm sorry for your loss, brother. I'm
Hmm.
sorry for your loss. I'm sure that's something very difficult. Personally, I've never had a close loss in my life,
Hmm.
so I'm not even sure how to give you words of encouragement. But all I can say is we all have our own story. We all have our own adversity. You just
Hmm.
gotta shape your story and share that with other people, and be authentic when you're sharing it.
Wow.
That's what I've
Right on.
learned in my kind of few experiences in the speaking world, and I think bro, I think you're powerful. You have a powerful story as well.
Hmm.
And you can refine that, sharpen it, and grow. And I think it's very you have a good heart, you have good values, you want to give back to the community in a way. And I think working with the youth, you pointed it out, that's what I do here in California, and that's an avenue. Eventually I want to transition into the working with adults and working with parents, and facilitating in Spanish, because I've also facilitated twice in Spanish with moms in here in California. And I actually got to meet. It's such a small world, but I actually got to meet the mother of a professional soccer player who
Oh.
plays in. He plays for the Mexico national team, but he's playing in Europe right now. So I got to go to the community of Lampo, California. And I'm not aware if you're familiar with soccer, but I got to meet Julian Araujo's mother.
Oh
Very,
shit. Yeah.
very humble, very humble person, and I'm grateful, to meet these people and these spaces that I'm in. And so, yeah, I got to say, you have your story, I have my story, and sometimes we're like, dang, we hear someone's story, I'm like, dang, they have a powerful story, and I'm like, and then you feel like, oh, mine isn't as powerful, but it is. It's powerful in its own way. Working with the youth, I think that's the next generation of people that are gonna be professionals like us. Right
Hmm.
now, we're in our 20s, and we're coming into this professional world, and we're gonna make a lot of mistakes. We're gonna have a lot of challenges as well, a lot of trompiesos. You're gonna fall, but it's about having that mindset of getting up and continuing and going forward. And it's
Hmm.
and it's and it's bigger than just ourselves, because if we center ourselves in our aspirations, in our goals, then I think you can get lost. You can get lost in the sauce. But
Yeah.
if your purpose is bigger than yourself, if your purpose is your community, if your purpose is your family, your little brothers, um,
Hmm.
then that's the drive there, man. That's
Yeah.
what can keep you going. And it's just about finding your purpose, man. And it's been a self discovery journey for me in my 20s, and I'm gonna go ahead and start my podcast soon, real soon. I'm
Okay,
gonna be
bro.
reaching out to you, my brother. I'm gonna be reaching out to you about how to start my podcast,
Yeah.
but also, I want to meet in person. You seem like a
For
genuine
sure.
soul, like a dope dude, like a dope fool.
Yeah.
So I definitely, like to come out there in Texas. I have family in Dallas,
Oh wow.
and definitely, have this in person, and so I can be with that nice backdrop of the wooden panels you got going on there.
Well, let me tell you, man. I'm actually in a garage, in my my
Mm,
my garage. This is my first time telling because I didn't want people to think differently or like that he's trying too hard. But me and my dad were talking about it today, and then he was like, "Man, when you write your book, whenever you're older, and you kind of write your memoir, you take a picture of this and you show people this is where it's all started because this is where it all started. It started in a garage. I don't know how big this podcast is gonna be. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but I know that for right now, I'm in a garage and I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here and talking to people and having a platform where I can network with other people because that's really what it is. This this idea of the podcast came to me through kind of like a vision, man. I'll tell you, it wasn't something that I planned for a long time. It
mm,
wasn't something that I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this. I just said, you know what? I love talking. I feel like I have a lot to say. I feel like I can meet other people. Let me go ahead and do it. And everything came, the backdrop, the way that it's all set up. I'll send you a picture here after, so you can see. But I have like some buckets holding up these plants, dude. Like just some small buckets. I have a what is it called? A cooler holding up my other plant that I have right here. It's really not a crazy setup, dude. Like I built these walls by myself. No pun intended, but about the
mhm,
border. But but I built, everything here, and so understand that these people they're like, I need a studio. You don't need a studio. You just gotta start. You just gotta start, dude. And so I look forward to your future and your success and your endeavors if you do choose to do a podcast. I'm very willing to talk to you, man, and give you tools and tips. Because it's been a great journey. I'll say. Yeah, this is episode 9, I believe. So
mm,
9 weeks of shooting, putting stuff out there, doing all these things. And in the beginning, I kind of had like 3 episodes that I like pre-recorded so that like in case I missed a week, I could just post those. I already used them up, dude. Like I'm already. So that's why I gotta shoot this weekend so that I can edit everything today and then get it posted by Wednesday. But yeah, dude, it's been a great journey and we're right over the hour mark. So I do want to just final remarks to you, man. Thank you for taking your time out of your day. These people ask sometimes they're like, "Do I have to pay to be in your podcast?" No, you don't have to pay to be on my podcast. I can't even pay you to be on my podcast, man. This is purely for the communication and stuff. So thank you for everything that you do, not just for your father and yourself, but also for your community. That's something very inspiring to me. And I'll definitely be looking for those chances and those opportunities to also give back to my community. You have a very great story so far up until 26, and you have a lot more to go uh, for your life. And I hope that the day that you get all those blessings, you think back at the start and realize that it came from hard work and determination. And I really appreciate your time again. And I look forward to other episodes, and I look forward to being in your podcast. You better invite me as well, man.
yeah,
I look forward
yeah.
to that as well.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you reaching out to me because I dropped a comment in your video and you reached out, and I was a little bit of hesitant, just to come on a podcast. My first podcast I ever speak on,
Mhm.
and I see your professionalism in your setup. You said you have a cooler down there and a bucket, but from over here or from my phone, you would never imagine that. I see your backdrop. My mentor has the same backdrop, and I see that little the vertical lines, and I'm like, man, how do I make that? And but it's just being grateful for what you do have. You said you're in a garage. Um, I don't have a garage, but I have a basement that I could maybe try to
Yeah, dude.
transform. But if not, here in my room somewhere, I'll build a mobile wall or something
Yeah.
to move and to panel in to just kind of have that space. But yeah, I think one of my biggest things is just being grateful. I'm in a room and I'm in an enclosed space. There's people who don't have that, and just grateful for what I do have. I appreciate you opening up your platform and spending your time over an hour. We're just yapping up on this podcast, but
Yeah, it's been
that's what
great.
public speakers do, bro. They go up there and they're just yapping for an hour, and they give
Yeah.
you three key messages at the end with their story, and I kind of learned that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess people get paid for yapping. I'm like, all right, well, cool.
Yeah,
Let's
sign
yap
me up,
all
man.
day. Let's story tell, bro. Let's talk. You're ahead of the game, bro. You're 22. You're
Thank you.
very young. You're ambitious. You got a bright future, man. I'm excited to see where Drain Domain goes. I'm
Thank you.
sure it's
Thank you.
gonna go somewhere far. And yeah, man. Thank you so much again for having me on your podcast. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments, your suggestions, and I appreciate your insight, bro. Because I think just speaking with another human being, you learn a lot, and you discover a lot about yourself. You're like, oh, I should have said this. Or like, oh, this could have been a good point. And then later along the day, I'm gonna just be reflecting on this conversation we had, and it sparks things within my own mind about my own self that I have yet to discover. So I really appreciate your time, Byron. Have a
Right
blessed
on.
weekend, a blessed day. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Aldair. I'm gonna go ahead and end it, but just stay on real quick. I'm gonna want to go over some points with you. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode as well. Aldair here. We'll go ahead and put his socials down in the comments if he wants to put it. But yeah, guys, thank you once again for joining Drain Domain Podcast, episode 9 with Aldair, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.